California Living Fire Safe is sponsored in part by Pacific Gas and Electric Company, who reminds you that tree trimming practices near power lines not only reduce power outages, but most importantly, make California living safer for all of us.
They are California's recurring nightmare: wildfires. In late summer and fall, driven by hot winds and fed by bone-dry vegetation, they storm across the Golden State, leaving behind their annual residue of personal loss and blackened landscape. Like the weather, the fire season is hard to predict. No one could have foreseen the devastation of 2003. 14 major fires burning in 5 counties, flames soaring above centuries-old trees, consuming 750,000 acres. Thousands of homes destroyed, 24 dead. But amid the ruins, countless lives were saved and thousands of homes survived. The fact is, we can't always predict wildfire, but we can prepare and protect our families, homes, and communities.
Speaking of predictions, people thought it couldn't happen here, but it did. A catastrophic firestorm that destroyed over 3,000 homes right here in the Oakland Hills, and one of them was mine. I'm Vicki Liviakis.
And I'm Craig Miller. You know, all of the homes that were on this hillside prior to the infamous 1991 East Bay firestorm, every single one of them burned to the ground.
In the next half hour, with help from leading experts, we'll be learning the basic steps you can take to protect the people you love and the possessions you cherish.
It's all about controlling nature's wrath. As a news reporter and a member of my county's search and rescue team, I've seen firsthand the havoc that natural disasters can wreak on our lives. But these hills hold particularly disturbing memories.
It was in these foothills overlooking the San Francisco Bay that in 1991, a firestorm with conditions very much like this wiped out homes along the ridge. I lost virtually everything I owned, including one of my 2 dogs. My family and I were lucky enough to escape with our lives.
That was where you went up through the deck? That's the fireplace?
That's our fireplace, Mike.
Being involved with the traumatic aftermath was one of the most painful events of my life. That experience is just one of the reasons we want to do everything possible to help you protect and defend your homes and families.
When it comes to fire and life safety, the effort you invest now will pay off, even if you never experience a wildfire. So, let's get started. First, we're heading to Southern California, where I'll check in with a veteran firefighter for a quick primer on the principles of fire and life safety.
Then I'll be in Glendora, where we'll learn how to make your landscaping the first line of defense against wildfire.
Next stop, Redlands, where we'll explore the latest developments in fire-safe building standards and how to evacuate in case of fire.
We'll also visit California communities where fire safety is a way of life.
Well, what do you say we head south?
Let's get the show on the road.
All right, safe travels.
Take care.
We're here in Riverside at the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection, better known to most of us as CDF. We'll be talking with Rick Vogt, who's a captain here and a career firefighter.
So, not much going on today.
Okay. Hey, Rick.
Hi, Craig.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
Well, this place certainly has that nerve center feel to it, but what actually happens here?
Well, this is the Southern California Operations Center. It's where resources are coordinated and deployed to emergencies.
And when you say resources, you're talking about?
Air tankers, fire engines, hand crews, anything that's needed for a wildfire.
Okay. Another question for you. This term fire safe, what does that actually mean to you?
Well, being fire safe means that your home is prepared for the eventuality of a fire.
Okay, so let's say I've taken the steps and made my property fire safe. I take it that's not a guarantee.
Well, that's a good question. We've done historical reviews of homes and fires, and we've consistently found that the combination of a fire-safe landscape and a fire-rated roof greatly improves a home's chances for survival.
Greatly meaning?
Well, in one case we found that it could increase the chances up to 86%.
Wow, okay, that's hard to argue with. But now let's say I don't do anything.
Well, if a home isn't fire safe, it probably won't survive a wildfire. During a major fire, there aren't enough fire engines to immediately protect every structure. Homeowners need to do what they can to give the firefighters time to do their job. For example, a study of Santa Barbara's paint fire shows homes with untreated wood-shake roofs and inadequate brush clearance had a survival rate of less than 4%.
4%. So you're saying that a house that has not been made fire safe is virtually asking for trouble.
Exactly.
But doesn't it make a difference where you live?
That's right. Millions of us live in or near what we call the wildland-urban interface. This is where homes are built in or next to natural areas. Some plants in these areas actually depend on fire for survival. When fire removes thick stands of shrubs, it increases the water supply. California has naturally adapted to fire.
Okay, so if plants provide most of the fuel for wildfire, then I guess a lot of being fire safe just comes down to landscaping.
Absolutely. In fact, as soon as we're done here, I'm heading over to Glendora, where your co-host Vicki and I are going to look at the crucial connection between landscape and a fire-safe home.
All right, well, in that case, I think we are done here. Thanks for the tour, Rick.
You're welcome.
Well, Vicki, I'm guessing that you've picked out a house that's just undergone a complete fire-safe landscaping makeover.
That's right, Craig. Not long ago, the landscaping around this house was essentially a welcome mat for any approaching fire. All it took was a close call for SP Bone Christiani and her husband to decide they needed a change of scenery. SP, tell me a little bit about the fire that threatened your house.
Well, it was the Williams fire in 2002, and we didn't think it was going to be a problem because it looked so far away.
So what was more important to you, safety or aesthetics?
We pretty much knew when we moved up here what we ultimately wanted it to look like, and we wanted more of a park-like setting. And initially we hired crews to come out because there was so much to do.
You know, it sounds like you've done a terrific job in taking care of business. I hear Rick driving up, so why don't we just get in the yard and see what's been done?
Okay, great.
Hey Rick, good to see you.
Hi Vicki, nice to see you.
Can you walk us through exactly what it took to turn this landscaping into that living fire barrier you were telling Craig about?
Well, Vicki, first and foremost, homeowners need to be aware of the fact that state law actually requires them to install and maintain defensible space. Now that's removing all flammable vegetation within 100 feet of structures on their property. This is a platform from where firefighters can work during a wildfire. This defensible space is the backbone of a fire-safe landscape.
So homes throughout California, do they all have to maintain that 100-foot barrier?
You know, that's a good question. State law recently changed in January 2005, upping the minimum requirement from 30 foot to 100 foot. For example, if your house is on a hillside, you may want to clear flammable plants 300 feet or more around the house. That's why it's critical for homeowners to check local ordinances.
You know, you also talked about removing all flammable vegetation from an area. Does that mean having a bare ring of dirt around the house or what?
Not at all. What you really want to do is create a green belt of irrigated, low-growing, fire-resistant plants. And lucky for us, there are plenty of options to choose from here in California. Because of the differences in area vegetation and geography, you'll want to check with your local nursery to find the best plants for your needs.
So tell us a little bit about how this particular project unfolded.
Well, originally, their landscaping was an accident waiting to happen. It was completely overgrown with what we call ladder fuels, or in other words, untrimmed, overgrown plants that would have helped any fire climb up from the ground, into the trees, and eventually over to the house. Once that area was cleared, the first task was to develop a fire-safe landscaping plan, which required installing an irrigation system.
But aren't most fire-resistant plants drought-resistant too?
Well, careful, Vicki. Drought-resistant doesn't necessarily mean fire-resistant. Even so, a healthy, well-watered plant is far more likely to be fire-safe.
What kind of plants did they select?
They put in plants that are low-growing. They don't generate very many dead leaves or dry branches that could serve as fuel for a wildfire.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, and I've also noticed they're well-spaced.
They are, and you know that's good practice no matter how old your landscaping is. You also want to make sure that your plants are well-trimmed and litter-free.
How about trees? Do you have any suggestions?
Sure. Trees, you need to plan for how large they'll be when they're mature and make sure they're at least 10 feet from the structure. But you also want to keep your eyes on nearby power lines. Plant too close to the lines and you risk creating a dangerous contact that can generate sparks.
Now, Rick, what if we already have tall trees on the property?
Well, if the trees are touching the power lines, the homeowners need to contact the power companies immediately. They'll be happy to come out and trim the trees back free of charge.